Hello, everyone. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, a subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Our mantra is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. Folks, you're going to want to stay and listen. I can't believe November is just around the corner, and that means holiday time. And that's a rough time for some people, for people who are grieving. That's a really tough time. And it may not be that tough once you hear my guest today, who is the phenomenal Claire M. Schwartz. Claire holds a BA in psychology. She is owner and founder of Miriam's Well Healing, LLC. Claire is a spiritual counselor, certified professional coach, grief and trauma expert, see if I can pronounce this right, Reiki master teacher, and interfaith
Reiki master teacher?
Reiki, I can never get that right.
There you go.
Thank you, Claire.
No worries.
Reiki.
We're here to educate.
Reiki
it's okay.
That's right, Reiki master teacher and interfaith minister with over 15 years of experience in her field. Claire was on a few months ago, back in June, where she discussed her book. She's author and writer of Putting Out the Fire, Nurturing Mind, Body, and Spirit in the First Week of Loss and Beyond. And let me tell you, folks, if you didn't listen to that show, go back and listen to it, and I highly recommend buying that book because it helps me 4 years after the fact after Matt died. I found it very helpful. And I want to welcome Claire M. Schwartz to Chat with Betsy. Welcome back,
Betsy.
Claire.
Hi. It's so good to hear your voice again. Looking forward to engaging on this really important topic.
Yes, it's good to hear your voice also, and you are an expert in your field. And Claire, so many people, I'm in a lot of support groups, and even seeing on social media about grieving and holidays, and I'm glad that more people are talking about grieving. I'm glad more people are now open to the fact, hey, I could talk about my grief and my grieving and my loved one who I lost.
Yes.
And I think that's great. But people, I know, I'll share my story real quick, Claire. I thought about 2 years ago, I thought, what's wrong with me? Why am I still like this? I should be better at this time. And I went for counseling. And that helped me, and just listening to people who are experts in the field and, reading books has helped me realize, and I feel better equipped now this holiday season, that I realize, folks, I don't have to change how I feel. It's okay. No. It's okay for me to be sad. I'm going to be sad. This is my new normal. I hate using the word normal, but this is my new way, and it's okay. And I could sit with my feelings. Yes, memories are going to pop up. This is when, from Thanksgiving to New Year's when Matt was dying. I'm going to be sad. Memories are going to come up. And now I'm okay with that. And
I'm really glad to hear that, Betsy.
Yeah, it takes a while, folks. It does. Take a while. And have you found that, Claire, in your work, that it does take a while and that people have to accept your new normal?
It does take a while. The thing that's so fascinating about grief, and one of the things that I talk about all the time, is that it really messes with your perception of time. It makes you feel like the loss happened 5 seconds ago, but it also feels really far away because your sense of how time passes changes very strangely You're feeling multiple things at once. And one of the things that marks time is holidays. Holidays are highly charged things, right? There are a lot of expectations. Everything is heightened. There are family gatherings with folks you may not see at any other time of year. So there can be a lot of stress just in general with the holidays. Then if you throw in the idea that some folks who have always been there are suddenly not there, and that can be extremely jarring too, because it's a challenge to figure out how do you cope with those. And part of the reason I suspect that you're feeling better, Betsy, is because you have leaned into your healing process. You have talked about grief. You have talked about your sorrow and your loss. And one of the things that people trip over is they want the holidays to be joyous, wonderful, filled with love and light. And so that's great. However, if there are these underlying things also going on, that creates a real tension because there's not that reality check of accepting, no, actually, Grandma's not here. And that's why my holiday grief class that I've taught for many years is called The Empty Chair, because there's the holiday gatherings. And even if there's not, I know some families who put an empty chair at the holiday table to honor folks who are lost, who they have lost, just to have them be present. But even if that physical chair is not there, there's that awareness. Somebody's not here. And I always encourage folks to lean into that. You can't just pretend it's not there. You have to listen to your emotional truth. And that's why, even if a loss is 20 years old, it doesn't matter. It can still be, the more you've pushed it away, the harder it is going to be. So you have felt better because you have leaned into telling the truth. You know, you lost your husband. Oh, my God. How awful. How difficult. And it was elongated, and it was painful. And it's not going to be less painful by pretending it didn't happen. So, you know, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And, you know, I realized too, Claire, like I was thinking I should be able to cook Thanksgiving dinner by now, but I can't. And I might not ever cook Thanksgiving dinner again. And and it's okay. We started new traditions, Josh and I.
Right. That's exactly it. And so I just want to point out one little word that popped out at me from what you just said, and it's a big bugaboo in the healing world that always just leaps out at me when someone's talking about their process. And you said, I should be able to cook Thanksgiving dinner. I'm like, hold up. Really? Says who? If it's hard, it's hard. And you, as you said, you may not be able to do that. And that's okay. That's okay. It's that reality that Thanksgiving looks different now. And I talk a lot about, you know, being open to changing holiday traditions. We don't have things the same way we did when we were 5 or when we were teenagers or when we were in our 20s, 40s, 60s. Life is full of changes. Change is the only constant. So when folks say, I don't like change, I'm like, well, life's going to do that anyway. So learning how to live and breathe with those changes means sometimes the traditions have to change. And to be willing to leave past ones aside and create things that reflect where you are now. So clearly you and Josh have talked about this, right? You didn't just suddenly pop into this conversation, right? It didn't just say, oh, we're doing something different, right? You had a discussion about it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Josh is fine as long as he eats. He doesn't care.
Right.
He doesn't care where, as long as he's eating, Claire.
I get that.
And I was talking to my psychologist about this last week, and yes, folks, I do go to a psychologist because I still need counseling. And, I could cook Thanksgiving food on Christmas Eve, and I have no problem, with that. But I think the reason is, and I discussed this with Josh, of why I cannot cook Thanksgiving dinner is because the day after Thanksgiving, Matt went on hospice. So Thanksgiving was his last meal at home.
Oh,
and
of course.
I just, that might seem like weird to people, but you know what, Claire, and I know you know this, I just want to tell the audience, who cares if it's weird to other people? Don't worry about what other people think.
Don't care.
I cannot eat I can't eat Thanksgiving food on Thanksgiving. I just can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's okay.
I absolutely support that, Betsy. And at folks who get there's in many groups of people, there are always going to be there's going to be somebody who's going to look down their nose or look at you sideways, or and they're just going to sit in their judgment and be uncompassionate. And I fully give you permission to ignore them and do what feels right to you. To be open, to be honest, and as soon as you start hearing, oh, you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that, or, and you can feel that air of disapproval coming at you, and you go, excuse me, hold on, I'm sorry. You can do what you like, but this is, my house, my rules. If you're not interested in participating, there's this lovely square thing at the end of the hallway. It's called a door. And you don't necessarily have to handle it that way, but just you can take someone aside and go, actually, doing it the same way is just too painful, and I hope you can understand that. And please don't fling your judgment in my face. It is unkind, it is unnecessary, and uncalled for. So, the judgments come from two places, right? From ourselves in our own heads, and from others who are less than compassionate. So, how to navigate those is super important, because there might be someone who wants things just so, or who sometimes there are folks who just want to feel like they have all the answers. And I go, I don't find that compassionate. We always want to err on the side of compassion. And so make the Thanksgiving food on Christmas. Great. Do that.
Yeah, and we're fine with that. We go out on Christmas for Christmas dinner. That's another new tradition. We just, you just, eventually I did, except, it's, I look at it this way, Claire, is the way for me to honor Matt is to start new traditions. And I feel like I'm doing it in his honor. Now, It's weird. Christmas doesn't bother me. Matt was still alive on Christmas. He was in hospice unit in a hospital then. Yeah. But I don't know. It's just Thanksgiving is just totally different, and it really took me a while to really investigate that in myself. And you know what, Claire, I started to have compassion in a way for people who don't understand. You know what? They can't understand how I feel because they didn't lose their husband. And I'm glad they don't understand in a way that they didn't have that loss yet. But they will eventually if they live long enough. Yeah.
And some folks don't understand things until they've gone through it themselves. but obviously we don't want others to suffer. But I mean, we all lose something or someone that we care about at some point, and so being able to flip that script and say, if you lost the most important person in your world, would you want that coming at you in those painful moments? Might want to rethink that. And some folks will and some folks won't. Some folks are still going to look at you sideways and, okay. It's not, you don't have to worry about that. And I really, family gatherings are often challenging enough, right?
Right.
And so when difficult memories and circumstances leak into that, it has to be very flexible, very patient, very open and honest, and again, very compassionate. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I feel this way too, Claire. Like if people don't want to decorate, they feel like, I have to decorate. No, you don't. You do what's comfortable for you. You don't have to decorate. You don't have to listen to the holiday music. It was really difficult for me.
Sure.
The first Christmas without Matt, I would cry every time I heard certain songs, and I would find myself crying in ShopRite, the supermarket, when the songs came on, and then I would see Matt loved Melamars, and if I saw that, I would just start bawling. And
of course, that's okay.
It is. It's okay.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel. Like it's okay, and I'm at the point, I guess, because it's my age too, Claire. The older you get, you don't care what people think. I'm like, you know what? Yeah. I don't have to justify myself to anyone. This is how I feel, and I don't have to explain myself. But if I must, I will. But I feel like, at this point time in my life, I don't have to. Claire, you mentioned the empty chair. That I've heard about that. Do you teach? Do you still teach that?
Yes. Hopefully I'll be teaching that a couple of times between now and the holiday season. And I'm still working out the mechanics of that, whether it might be on Facebook or it might be, wherever it is, I'll be sharing it on social media. I'll certainly let you know. And occasionally I do get hired to do private grief things around the holidays by companies where they want something that's just concentrated and designed for them. So the corporate angle is also available to folks if they want me to construct something that is particularly geared to their line of work, or maybe there's a difficulty within the company that's connected to the holidays where it's going to become difficult. So I can customize it as well. So those are some of my offerings. But the free one is just kind of basic. So yeah, I'm looking for opportunities along those lines.
Okay, because I would put that in the blog to go on your website to find out information about that, because that's really important, because as I said earlier, a lot of people struggle at this time of year, and even though someone might have died 20 years ago, the holidays just bring it home and hit you like a sledgehammer.
Sure can.
And that's really reality, folks. And I talk about reality on the show and just say how things, really are. I will not go up and climb up in my attic to get the stockings. Safety-wise, I just won't do it. But Josh,
sure.
Josh doesn't care at this point. He's 40,
right.
So it doesn't matter to him. And I think it's important too, Claire, to check in with your adult children, or if you have younger children. around the holiday time and see how they're doing. It's hard for them too, and sometimes we forget that.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think to remember too that there are some folks who may be dealing with their holiday grief who are alone.
Yes.
And maybe they wouldn't mind a family to gather with, or even to just have a phone call and say, hey, do you need anything? Can I bring you some holiday treats? Do you want to just sit and have a cup of coffee? Just so that, because connection is kind of everything. You know, we're hardwired for connection. And when we lose those connections, it shortens your life. So being able to reach out to folks is something wonderful that you can do that not only feeds community but feeds your own soul. To be able to, you'll feel better yourself for having reached out to someone and lifted them up. It lifts you up as well. So reaching out to someone who might be isolated is a wonderful thing that you can do for someone.
Absolutely. And if you know someone who is grieving at this time, and you know it's a difficult time, reach out to them. Send a text. Say, I'm thinking of you. It doesn't take long, folks, and it will mean,
it doesn't.
Yeah, so much. And, people don't understand, I think, Claire, that, like, why is it difficult? That old saying, you should be better by now. Life goes on. Yeah, we know life goes on.
There's that should
right?
again.
Right?
There's that should again. Right? Yeah.
And that's just, I think, drilled into us. My mom, was from that time. Didn't talk about your feelings, and life goes on. And back, growing up, we weren't even allowed to mention someone's name who died.
Nope. Nope. That is correct.
You don't talk about them.
Era. Yeah, absolutely. You don't talk about losses. You don't talk about hard things. You don't talk about your feelings, your needs. You just pull yourself together and soldier on. On the inside, you can be completely destroyed. And it's the act of that talking about it, that sharing, where the healing has to begin. To have a place where you can bring your feelings, feel everything, no limits, and just let it all out and have it received and validated, again, with compassion. There has to be that safe space. And I realize that's the era that folks come up in, and that is what it is. But from a psychology point of view, it's not healthy to keep it in. It's really not. I did want to just mention one angle on holiday grief, if I may.
Sure. Oh, yes. I was going to say, please, give suggestions. How to handle.
It's the category of loss, and you and I may have talked about this before. If not on your show, then I'm sure we've talked about it personally. But not everyone who passes is someone who was, a pillar of the family and the community and who is so deeply loved and deeply missed. Some folks leave a very difficult legacy behind. I call it a lumpy legacy. And so those need to be addressed too. That can be very, very challenging if someone left a difficult history behind them. It's the same sort of thing. If you don't talk about it, that doesn't make them suddenly become a pillar because they have passed. There's that whole don't speak ill of the dead piece, which I don't find useful either. That's very judgy in terms of, you're not allowed to have your feelings about this person if they are difficult, if they are negative, if they are angry, if they are resentful. Those are part of the feelings that can come up too. And to be brutally honest, if I may, there are some folks where once they're gone, sometimes things are a little easier. And
Absolutely.
That's a different kind of truth, right?
Yes.
These are hard things. And so you want to honor all of it. You don't necessarily want to dredge up absolutely everything at the holiday table, but don't avoid the subject either. You have to be, it's a tricky balance to strike. You want to be sensitive to folks who don't want to drown in it, but also you don't want to hide in it either. So it can be a tricky balance, especially, the holidays can be heightened for other ways. It's a lot of energy. It can be big gatherings of lots of people who may have all sorts of histories together. There can be lumpy legacies at the table, hurt feelings from 17 years ago, unresolved conflicts fueled by way too much food, way too much alcohol. It's a recipe for a lot of uncomfortable feelings. So, it's being aware ahead of time can be part of the solution, and say, have a family conference before the holidays, while you're actually planning the dinner. How are we going to deal with this subject or with the fact that this person is not here? And to, because some people are going to feel one type of way and other people are going to feel another type of way. So you have to make room for a lot of different feelings and personalities that may turn up in the same house. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. I love that term, lumpy legacy, and that's so true because, I'll say in my family, my family doesn't listen to my show anyway. There was 4 of us. My older brother died, and so now there's 3 of us, and people might, kids in the same family might view their parents differently.
Yeah.
And I'll be very blunt. When my mother died in March, a whole basket of feelings came in.
Sure.
Of how she treated me. Now, people may not believe me how my mother treated me, but that's how I saw it. And my mom's unveiling is going to be in day after Thanksgiving, and I was shocked that my brother suggested about going out afterwards. That, to me, will be uncomfortable. When we had my brother's unveiling, they didn't want to meet afterwards because it was the day before Thanksgiving and they were in a rush. I can understand that. But I was just shocked.
Yeah. Do you think that's a peace offering of some kind? Can you make room for that, do you think?
I could, Claire, but I think maybe that was my mother's wish. Maybe my mom told my brother, after the unveiling, go out afterwards. I want you to do that. I think that. I could picture
just the 2 of you now?
No, I have my sister from California be coming in.
Okay.
And it, my brother and sister are close, but I am not close to either of them. And it will be uncomfortable. Yeah. And I'm sure they probably will hardly even speak to me, just like at our mother's funeral. So that was uncomfortable. And I'm going with an open mind.
Good.
Because I probably won't see them again. I can't picture seeing them again. And I'm really going to try to go there with an open mind and try to make the best of it. And I'm totally honest here, folks, and I tell you about my situations. because other people might be experiencing the same thing. And as you know, Claire, people, think they're the only ones who feel the way they do, but they're not. There's a lot of people having the same issues or conflicts. What suggestions would you give to someone, Claire, who is struggling at that holiday time of year where they think, oh, I should be happy, but I'm not? Excuse me.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing I would say is find your allies so that you can talk openly about what's going on in your head and in your heart. Trusted, supportive friends who give you space to be yourself and just listen. Feeling like you are heard is a very important part of the grieving process. And not to judge yourself harshly. I did hear that should again. We are so hard on ourselves. And the fact is that somebody just said this to me yesterday. I don't know what's wrong with me. I should be feeling better by now. Mm-hmm. And I said, but hold up a second. You lost your daughter when? July. I said, oh, it's 3 months. No. Maybe we don't know what the clock looks like. It's different for everybody, but 3 months in the grief world is nothing. It's the blink of an eye. So there's no should here. There's no judgment here. So if folks find themselves being harsh in their own minds about what they should be feeling, there's no should. If it's hard, then it's hard. And I can tell you, after almost, my goodness, it's going to be 30 years next year that I lost my mother, and I can tell you every year is different. Some years it just sort of rolls by, and I just go, oh, okay, I guess that was a thing. And other years I'm knocked flat, and I get up in that day in the morning, and I just go, oh, I need to not talk to anybody right now. And I have to be very careful with my self-care, and I'll go for a walk in the woods, or I'll do some journaling, or I'll make sure I have some quiet time, some crying time. I talk to her. But every year is different. So it's like I said at the end of the book, Betsy, loss changes you.
Yes.
And every loss changes you. Every holiday is going to be different. Every birthday, every anniversary, those days that are going to stick in your mind because that's when a diagnosis happened, that's when a surgery happened, that's when an accident happened. So many things are going to leap out at you. And because they only happen once a year, they feel very rarefied. So it is okay to be struggling, but don't struggle in silence. Don't keep it to yourself. So being open with what's going on with you is definitely a key. I also want to add, be very mindful of taking excellent care of yourself. Being careful with how you're eating, how you're sleeping. Don't skip your medications. Make sure you stay hydrated. Just your physical balance is very important to your mental and emotional balance. And I also just want to add one thing that just as a general suggestion, if you're planning a holiday gathering or if you're going to a holiday gathering, I love the idea of creating a quiet zone where folks can just go take a break, and that can be a quiet room, someplace upstairs, someplace downstairs, the backyard, somewhere quiet and private where you can get away if you need to, if it all becomes too much. So I like that
I
idea
like
of
that.
the quiet zone, right? So
I love that.
Gentle, gentle, gentle with yourself and with others. These are hard things. This is not, a walk in the park. This is the stuff of life. It can get really hard, but it is not the end of your story. It is a chapter in your story, and it is still being written, and you still have time to continue to write that and shape and reshape your story and your journey as long as you are still here to do that. So there will always be, and I know we've talked about this, that thick black line that goes through your life. This is before you lost Matt. This is after you lost Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can't cross
That's
back
true.
over that line. But because it's permanently part of your story. Right?
Absolutely. Yes.
But it is not the end of your story. It is a chapter. It is a chapter.
That is.
And to just keep writing. Your story.
Yeah, that is so true. I have to say I have a whole new appreciation of life now than ever before. Maybe maybe it's because I'm older. Maybe it's because I lost Matt was 66, my brother was 67. I lost a friend this year, the age of 59, a very good friend. And life is short, and
that's it.
You got to let a lot of stuff go that's holding you back. I have to share this with you, Claire. It was around Matt's birthday in August, and Josh and I went out to eat. And the song Remember When from Alan Jackson came on. And I just started sobbing. It just hit me. And the waiter came over, and she goes, "Is everything okay?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "I'm just emotional from the song. Reminds me of my husband. And we're out celebrating his birthday. And he died." And she goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I said, "I'm okay." I said, "Thanks." I get choked up just thinking about it. And I said, "It's okay." And I wasn't embarrassed because there's no need to be. And I think for the first time in my life, Claire, I was not embarrassed to be crying and telling somebody why. So absolutely. I think we gain a strength that we never knew we had. Yes.
Going through these deeply difficult things and figuring out how to come out the other side, how to build our resilience, and those deeper learnings that we get from loss and from trauma, those are things that you kind of can't learn anywhere else. It's from that deep experience of life. And, it's one of my favorite Khalil Gibran quotes, "The most massive characters are seared with scars. And the older you get, the more scars you have. But you survive, and you learn, and you grow, and building your resilience so that you know what to do when the next thing happens." And one of those deeper learnings is life is precious. I lost a friend who was 59 last year too. It's shocking, and like, oh wait, tick-tock. Can't see those hands on the clock, but the clock is ticking. So go do the best things in life, because you don't know, and you have to. It is incumbent on us to learn and create and grow as much and as often as we can, for as long as we can, right?
That's right. That is absolutely right. I have decided that life is precious, and I'm going to enjoy every day as much as possible. And,
great.
Just to do stuff in honor of Matt. And
That's it.
People, that's another thing, like at the family dinner, people are afraid to mention a loved one's name. Let me tell you something, folks. We know they're gone. That's not a secret. Right. You can mention their name. It won't upset us. We want to hear stories. Well, I do anyway, of, what meant to someone. Like, share the stories.
Absolutely.
And I just
share the stories, share the heart warmth, share the memories. That's how you're keeping him in the world.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. And I'll be doing that. You know what, Claire? I have a suggestion for you. As if you don't have enough to do already, I think you should write a book about grieving and holidays. You did? You wrote a book about that?
I wrote a book about grief. I think you read it.
Yes, that. But I'm talking about, and that's a great book, like another book, like maybe a continuation, of, see, there goes my head, a continuation of,
that's all right.
like maybe readjusting your life, or what you just mentioned, like how to deal with the empty chair. You might have it mentioned in your book, but it's been a while since I read it. But I think I could see another book in your future. I can see it.
I have at least 3 or 4 books wandering around my brain. I have to sort them. I have to sort them all out.
Oh, there you go. I just visioned for you.
I appreciate that.
Your next book, because you are an expert, and I think that I'm sure you have a lot of books in your head twirling around, and I know it does take time, and you do have a business. Well, Claire, it's always such a pleasure talking to you and sharing, because I just want the world to know that it's okay to have these feelings, and you're not alone. Claire and I are here to tell you you're not alone. And
you bet.
In my opinion, Claire is a great resource. Claire, please tell us where people can find your book and your website.
Yes. My website is You Can Heal Your Grief. That's youcanhealyourgrief.com. And there are all sorts of resources on that. One of them is my book, which I believe is under the resources tab. The book is Putting Out the Fire, and that's, if folks are interested in that would be deeply appreciated if you would buy it through my website instead of through Amazon, although it is on Amazon. But independent authors appreciate buying directly, so that would be lovely. And then when you do that, you can you can get a signed copy from me. Amazon doesn't do that. So if you want the book, there's that. And there are also links there to my programs that I offer, which include working privately with me as a grief and trauma coach. I also do organizational consulting for companies speaking on the topics of grief and loss and self-care. I also have, for folks who really want intensive support, some folks really thrive on that when they want something that is in your pocket every single day for a 90-day period. I have a 3-month program that is online that folks can work privately on the daily with me, and that system can be programmed for all kinds of support, worksheets, videos, quotes, inspiration, encouragement. That's carrying around a personal coach in your head and in your email or your texts on the daily. And some folks really like and need that intensive sort of support. So that's my Fearless Grieving to Fearless Living program. That's on the Work With Me tab. But, the most important thing is to just shoot me an email. That can be youcanhealyourgrief@gmail, or as Betsy mentioned, the name of my company is Miriam's Well Healing. So it's Miriam's Well Healing @gmail. And all of these will be in the squib under the show. So all of my contact info and programming. And if you just want to have a chat on the phone, I have a free consultation for folks who just want to have an introduction and see if we're a good fit and talk about the options and see how I might be able to help you. So all sorts of ways to work together. And I post on social media. My blog is on my website, which I don't get to as much as I would like, but there's lots of good resources on there. And those are free as well. So lots and lots of ways that we can stay in touch. And if there's something that you're looking for that you're not sure where to find, just shoot me an email and let's have a chat.
Well, thank you so much, Claire. And I have to mention about the companies. I think that is a great idea. I think companies should hire you because how many employees struggle this time of year? If you want a productive employee, then, help them emotionally. And there's so much judgment in the workplace. I have seen this firsthand. And that could be a whole nother show. A whole nother show could be that.
You bet.
And handling grief in the workplace, because that is so important. And, I knew someone, their famous line was, everything rises and falls on leadership. And really people in management should really look into and contact you, Claire, about how to help their employees. I think that's so important. I hope the work culture is changing now. But the judgments that I have seen about people who are grieving is just incredible. I remember I had just started working at the preschool, and somebody was saying, "Oh, can you believe they're crying? Oh, their mother died a year ago, and they're still crying." And, I didn't think much of it at that time, Claire, because grief didn't hit me. I didn't lose anybody at that point except grandparents. And now I'm thinking, how cruel to go around saying that. That's just cruel and not helpful. So please, if you are a company and you're hearing this show, I recommend calling Claire up and contacting her.
There are all sorts of statistics about the damage that grief does in the workplace in terms of loss of productivity and how a company deals with grief-stricken and traumatized employees can really reflect in your reputation, your bottom line, your company culture, and are you a place where people want to work if they're going to be treated that way? So there are a lot of, but as you said, that's another episode. Maybe next year we'll talk about that.
Yes. Oh, definitely. That would be a great show. Well, thank you so much, Claire. Folks, you heard Claire M. Schwartz. Everything about Claire will be in the blog that Jeannie White, who's the station manager, writes and produces the show. And I want to thank Jeannie for all she does. And I want to thank William Caldwell, who is CEO of Pastoral Talk Radio Network, who makes this all possible. And I want to thank you, the listeners. Thanks for listening, subscribing, sharing the show. If you don't already subscribe, Chatting with Betsy is free on Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, to name a few. And please share this show to help other people. That's what I'm here for. That's what Claire is here for. And I have people on that are experts in their field. Claire M. Schwartz is an expert. Highly recommend you going on her website and buying her book, because of reading the book helped me 4 years after the fact that my husband died. It will help you if you just lost someone. and I highly recommend you buying the book. And I think funeral homes should have them stocked. I think every hospital should have this book.
Yeah.
And that's how strongly I feel about this book and how much it helped with my healing journey. And I just want to say, thanks for listening, everyone. And as I always say, you can follow me on Facebook, Betsy E. Wurzel, Wurzel. And I have a support group, #Kick Alzheimer's Death Movement, if you are looking for caregiver support. And as I always say at the end of my show, in the world where you could be anything, please be kind and shine your light bright, because we need it now more than ever.
You bet.
So be safe, everyone. Enjoy the holidays as much as you can, if you can. And that's it for today. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, a subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Bye-bye now.